I just wanted to make a video because I was inspired by someone that I'm following here on YouTube who also made a video like this. Now, this guy has millions of followers and has been doing this for a long time. And I do not have millions of followers, and I have not been doing this for a long time. I would perhaps consider this one of the first videos I really put up there that isn't tailored to be anything more than just me trying to get off my heart what I want to share with the world. And I say the world, and I honestly don't know if anyone is ever going to watch this video, and it doesn't really matter. It's more of an experiment for myself to try and see what comes out if I honestly just try and share what's going on within me. You probably don't know me. My name is Alex, and I'm a guy who lives in Bangkok. And currently, you are in I'd say the calmest place in my world, which is the corner of my house, or our house here in Bangkok. Me and my wife has been living here for 2 years almost, on and off. But this house is a very old house. It was built by my grandfather. And until 2 years ago, I have only frequently been to Thailand, but I've never actually lived here. I'm half Thai. To me, that means that I belong in two worlds. And if you belong in two worlds, I feel I belong in many worlds. But it wasn't until I entered this world, my Thai side, I started understanding some of that legacy that exists within me. And part of that legacy is also this corner here. To some, this might look almost religious, and I guess it is. I mean, Buddha definitely is someone who is prayed to. But for me, this more represents a state, a psychological state, if you may. To me, this is the calmest place I can be. And that's not to say that I'm calm whenever I sit here. Contrary, it can be very difficult to sit here and be calm because I live in the same world as you do. I'm subject to all the different distractions and comparisons and a tyranny for attention. But when I come here, I set my intention to try to what I call opening up the present. And that's what I want to share with you. I wanted to share and make this video because I think it's important with this technological boom of information that we at least try to put some fragments of humanity within it. I've been on Instagram. I've been on social media for many, many, many years. I've grown my follower base, but I never really been someone who I would say have found my niche in it. Lately, I've been trying to just be open about my emotions. And I'll tell you why. The last few years have been quite tough. Tough in both the physical aspect of it, that I feel I've been under a tremendous amount of stress. Definitely also tough in the sense that when you reach a certain age, life starts opening up those chapters of loss more frequently, and I've lost people very close to me. And when you start losing people very close to you, something happens. And that something is that you become very aware of your own mortality. This is not a video to elaborate on the insights that happens at the end of life and what happens when we die and so on and so forth. It's not meant to be a gloomy setting. On the contrary, in Buddhism, actually, death represents light, or at least for the living. And the idea of death is the idea of impermanence. And as we become aware of that, we celebrate the fact that this is not yet the end. And I think that's something I've been a lot more open to as I've gone through my own dark experiences. It is to celebrate the fact that we are not here forever. An example of this is that me and my father, we have an agreement. We have an agreement to see each other 100 times before we die. And that is more or less 2 years ago we started that agreement. And we've been seeing each other a lot more frequently. And when we see each other, it's actually always meaningful. We've managed to build up a relationship that celebrates this idea of, wow, still around, still doing things together, still laughing, still smiling, still still doing the things that makes us love each other more and more, it seems. And the reason I wanted to share this video and these stories with you is because I feel that if we don't get better at reminding ourselves of how lucky we are to continuously live the life we're living, even though it's hardship filled and there's a struggle in it, the fact that we can continue to work and do what's meaningful to us, if we are that lucky to have found what's meaningful to us, then things are not so bad. One of the states of mind that I've found that really helps me in enjoying this progress of seeing things pass and seeing things get tough around me and having to sustain and endure this is the idea of calmness as, I guess you can call it a competitive advantage in our world. I think calmness has always been a state in me that I've viewed as passive, that you should stay calm and, meditate, make sure you do whatever you can so that your body is getting good rest, your mind is getting good rest. And I agree that this is important, but when things get hard, calmness has a proactive element to it as well. The fact that when things get tough, we seem to be attracted to calm figures, people who seem to be steadfast when things go wrong. And I never thought about how I can cultivate calmness within me as a method to strengthen my relationships and as a tool to make better decisions. And that's often what I sit here for. I sit here to practice what it means to calm myself down. And I think Buddha, he did a great job, right? He sat under a tree for a very long time. And that was actually everything he did. And people seem to find out that seemed pretty inspiring. I wish I could sit under a tree for a long time and be calm about it. And I'm pretty convinced that if he was around today, he probably would have been a CEO. I think he'd found ways to scale up his presence, which I think is why we see all these things online and inspiring people reaching us across the world with different ideas on how to do things. I think Buddha would have had his own channel. I'm not saying I'm the Buddha here, but I am saying that, man, there is definitely some practices when it comes to the ancient practice of Buddhism that make sense in our world. I've been very curious about this for a long time. You don't know much about me, but if I were to say 3 things that kind of paints a picture, it is that I've built a 6-figure corporate career, I've built a 7-figure startup, and I have lived as a 0-figure monk. I have not been successful in finding or reaching any point in my life so far where I have experienced happiness that sustains me. Everything I've done and built faded away or fades away more or less. Now, it has helped me live a life that I would consider is privileged, but it's not a guarantee that the rest of my life will be this way. It is neither a guarantee that the hardship that has entered my life and will enter my life can be withstood because of my achievements and my career. I think hard work is a discipline that shouldn't be forgotten when everything is so easily accessible, especially information. But I don't think hard work is how to live life. On the contrary, I think calmness shouldn't be hard work. Calmness should be the most natural state of mind. I'd argue calmness is the natural state of mind, but there is a lot that conflicts it today. This whole video is a rant. It's a rant to also kind of kickstart what I hope and what I wish for to be a more routine-based download of what it is I come across. I call this whole phenomena out calm. And out calm in, I guess you can call it in contrast to outrage, even outsmart or outperform or out-earn everything that has to do about somewhat putting someone else down. Out calm has the idea that if you can become the calmest person in the room, which you should be, then things work and fall in order. Because if we panic, or if we stress about reaching the next step or over and over again, we will never arrive at a calm state of mind. At least that is my experience of having outperformed and out-earned and outsmarted and outraged over the last 35 years. That's not to say that my last 35 years has just been one big stress bomb, but it is to say that you don't need many years of stress to break your mentality down. For those who ever tried burning out or existing in a state where things systematically break down around you, you know that getting a break suddenly becomes the main success criteria. And I think that's what I've been very curious about as I've gone through, I guess you can call a very stressful time. It has changed my definition of success into the idea that success is progress wherein you can depart from and arrive at moments of deliberate calmness. But this idea invites something completely different and quite difficult to measure into your life. And it asks more closely whether or not you, on that path that you're currently on, have found moments where you can step up, stop up, and really feel a sensation of calm. Because, at least from my experience, those are the moments that I remember, and I usually am grateful for them. My mother passed a few months back, and one of the last things she said as we were watching over her was that you should love yourself. I think that idea of loving yourself isn't something that's new to us, but the effort that goes into postponing that idea is perhaps something that I've been quite good at. I've been quite good at giving myself a hard time and perhaps not loving myself as much as I should. In relation to calmness, loving yourself is definitely that moment because it allows yourself most often to be unavailable to people. That's when calmness instills in you. It's when, I'm sorry, I can't pick up the phone right now because I'm having a great time just being myself. Or, yeah, I'm not going to prioritize that because of you. And that's not because I don't want to spend time with you, but that's because I feel that this time spent with me is so much more important. These are just examples of my own realizations. And I would spend an enormous amount on loving other people, which is definitely very important, but not at the expense of self-love. So, why am I saying all of this again? Well, I'm saying all of this because I hope I'll come to this camera more. It's kind of self-therapy, honestly. It's kind of just a conversation with myself. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're going through. Maybe you are the calmest person in the world already. But in case you're curious of how this future state of you is going to be one that is calmer than the present state of you, then I hope I can bring some insights to the table as well on how I'm exploring that path. I don't want to commit to the idea that now this channel is going to blow up with tons of new videos every week. I have not been good at uploading in the past, but I'm curious about how I can become better at it in the future. And so, if there's one thing, and this is what I'm trying to do here, if there's one thing I'd like to leave you with, it's a tool, right? So outcalm as a tool, how to outcalm yourself, how to be the calmest person in the room. Outcalm is not really a word that exists. So I'm just trying to define it, but I invite you to help me or help define it as well for yourself. There's no ownership of this word. But there's three things or three components to it that I'm playing with as kind of the core idea of how to become the calmest person in the room. And the first one is open the present. And this is a fun wordplay, obviously. A present is a gift, but present is also this very moment. And no matter how you think about present, you have always been present. You can look back at your life and say, man, I was so much an autopilot. But even at that time when you were an autopilot, you were still present. Opening up the present is an invitation to check in. It's basically a yes and no answer. Are you calm? And calmness to anyone is subjective. You know, calmness can be a sensation. Calmness can be a state of mind, a thought, whatever it is, answer it honestly. The second thing is to sit with it. So open up the present, sit with it. Sit with it is a meditation, but don't think about it as sitting down and closing your eyes. It might just be a single conscious breath. And sitting with something implies that you are able to also witness it change, because everything changes. Another truth from Buddhism and thermodynamics, if you want to go scientific on it. But witnessing a change is also part of calmness, because calmness is not a state of mind that's permanent. It's fleeing. Now, third is giving it away. And giving it away, giving the present away. To me, giving it away is this right here. If it just inspires one person to be curious about how to out-calm themselves, secondary, how to out-calm others, then I believe I've done a small good thing for the world, which is something my mother was really good at. She was very good at calming down other people. And yeah, I think that's why I want to do this. I just want her to still have an influence in this world. And well, if you watch this, thank you. And I hope you have peace at mind and at heart. I also hope I'll come back and do this more, because doing these videos, kind of recording them at least, it feels as if it becomes easier as the camera just rolls. So I hope to be back, and I hope to see you. Take care.